Well, first off, they just didn't want to make a hard decision, right? Figuring out who's going to be number 2 is going to be a difficult decision. It would have been a much harder decision to figure out which one of those young men would start. And when you look at what the Cleveland Browns are doing, this is why people spin the block in relationships, right? You remember, hey, man, I had a great relationship with this person. Then I moved to this person and it wasn't so good.
You feel like this young guy has established himself enough for us to go with him in the season, you pull the trigger right now. Because to RC and Dan's point, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know if your franchise guy is sitting in the locker room until you give him an opportunity to do so.
The debate surrounding NFL rookies has heated up once again, and at the center of it all is Dillon Gabriel's rough start. After a rocky beginning to his career, many are questioning if he can keep pace with the rising stars in the league. But it's not just Gabriel on everyone's mind. Ryan Clark recently weighed in, revealing that the Cleveland Browns are still uncertain about which of their 2 rookie quarterbacks will take the lead following Joe Flacco's departure. However, there's one name that's been making waves, Shedeur Sanders, but Browns are seemingly ignoring him. Clark isn't the only one taking notice. Swagoo also chimed in, stating that based on recent performances, he believes Shedeur could be the superstar the league has been waiting for.
Is what I feel about.
But that's the thing. If they don't play, Swag, how do you know? Like even if they're at practice and like Jason said, we're seeing them do well against the ones playing well in 7-on-7. It's still practice.
We're talking about practice,
but RC,
not the game.
That's the question that I'm asking.
Ryan Clark didn't hold back, stating that Shedeur Sanders hasn't been given enough playing time to truly showcase his skills. He pointed out that the Cleveland Browns aren't offering Sanders the chance to prove himself, which raises the question, how can they confidently say he'll be the top choice after Joe Flacco if they're not giving him the opportunity to play? Clark emphasized that every time Sanders has stepped up during training sessions, he's performed well. However, without real game time, it's hard to judge his potential as a starter. Ryan Clark's comments ring true. Shedeur Sanders isn't being treated fairly. Even coach Kevin Stefanski seems unsure when it comes to discussing Sanders. During his latest press conference, Stefanski's discomfort was evident. The hesitation in his responses and the awkward pauses made it clear that he was reluctant to address the quarterback situation, particularly when Sanders' name came up. When reporters asked why he was suddenly opting to play the starting quarterback in the 3rd preseason game this year, something he had intentionally avoided the previous year, his answer was vague at best. We do what the players need.
This year would be that joint practice in week 1. And then this year, just feel like that's what this team needs to get ready. Try to every single year make decisions based on what the guys need. So that's what we'll do.
Here's the real problem. Shedeur Sanders hasn't had a chance to play in actual games, nor has he been given the opportunity to work with the first-team offense. So how does that fit with the idea of doing what the players need? If the goal is truly to develop talent, keeping Sanders on the sidelines doesn't make any sense. Fans are left confused, questioning why the quarterback they're most eager to see in action isn't even being given the chance to prove himself. Right now, Stefanski's explanation feels more like an excuse than a plan, and it only leaves fans with more questions than answers. The uncertainty surrounding Stefanski's decisions continues. When asked once more about the quarterback situation, his response was simply, "We'll make that call in a couple of days." But let's be honest, deciding on a starting quarterback with such a narrow time frame isn't a well-thought-out strategy, it's just buying time. Fans aren't fooled. Beneath it all, this doesn't seem like an open competition. It feels more like another way to keep Shedeur Sanders sidelined. Right now, Stefanski's vague answers aren't reassuring. They come off as stalling tactics rather than clear, confident decision-making.
What do you plan to do at quarterback for the dress rehearsal game, and what is the timeline for naming week 1 starter?
Yeah, I want to get through the next couple days, but certainly that's something that we're going to do here sooner than later.
When the conversation turned to Shedeur Sanders, Stefanski didn't hold back. He made it clear that he doesn't expect Sanders to return this week, but the way he said it raised some eyebrows. Rather than expressing concern about his quarterback's recovery, it almost seemed like he was relieved. This is exactly what fans are picking up on, that Stefanski might not be too eager to bring Sanders back into the mix just yet. Once Sanders is available, the coach will be forced to confront the quarterback controversy directly, something Stefanski seems determined to avoid for as long as he can.
Increase their level of participation in practice this week?
I hope so. We really have to take those day by day, so I don't know where that ends up towards the end of the week, but I'm hopeful.
Adam Schefter shed light on the Browns' hesitation regarding Shedeur Sanders, stating that their lack of commitment to him stems from the minimal investment they made to acquire him. Schefter explained that the Browns never expected to land Sanders in the 5th round, and they brought him in more to see what the future might hold rather than to make him a centerpiece. Now, with no overwhelming pressure for him to take the lead, they're not prioritizing his development, which is why he's being largely overlooked. Swagoo then raised an excellent point, questioning why, even if Shedeur Sanders was signed for a minimal amount of money, the Browns wouldn't give him a real shot in both training and games. He expressed his confusion over why Stefanski isn't making more of an effort to develop Sanders and give him a chance to become the starter. According to Swagoo, it doesn't make sense to hold back on giving Sanders the opportunity to prove himself, especially given the resources they've already committed.
Trying to understand, because I'm with you. Why wouldn't they be competing in practice in preseason to become a starter? Why wouldn't you want, if you Kevin Stefanski, and you know that a lot of this stuff is predicated on probably your job in the next couple of years, however long you last, why wouldn't you be trying, day one, if it's Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel, why are you not trying to find out if they can start for your football team?
The answer to Swagoo's question is clear. They don't want Shedeur Sanders to succeed. Just a few days after the game, Stefanski spoke to the media, insisting that Sanders wasn't the only quarterback in the mix for the starting job. He emphasized that his focus was on developing the entire quarterback room, which, on the surface, sounded reasonable. However, when the depth chart was released, things didn't quite add up. Despite Sanders having the strongest preseason performance, he was still listed 4th. What made it even more baffling was that both Dylan Gabriel and Pickett were dealing with injuries at the time, yet Sanders still sat behind them. This decision left fans and analysts scratching their heads, only adding to the growing list of questions about what's really going on behind the scenes in Cleveland. The ongoing hesitation surrounding Shedeur Sanders' role in Cleveland has sparked a growing debate about the Browns' true intentions with their rookie quarterback. Coach Kevin Stefanski's reluctance to fully address the quarterback situation has left fans and analysts questioning whether Sanders is truly being given a fair shot. Ryan Clark's comments have only added fuel to the fire, as he pointed out that Sanders isn't getting the playtime he needs to prove himself. Clark's frustration is clear. Without consistent opportunities in both training and games, it's impossible to gauge Sanders' potential, and yet he's still being overlooked. This uncertainty only deepens when you look at Stefanski's response during his press conferences. The vague and hesitant answers he provides suggest a lack of confidence in his own decision-making. When pressed about the quarterback situation, his responses are non-committal, and he seems to be deflecting rather than offering a clear plan for the future. This behavior only serves to make fans question whether the competition for the starting role is truly open or if Sanders is being intentionally sidelined. Then there's the issue of the depth chart. Despite Sanders delivering the most impressive performance in the preseason, he was still listed 4th behind quarterbacks who were dealing with injuries. This baffling decision has left many scratching their heads, especially considering that Sanders has shown more potential than those ahead of him. The Browns' lack of investment in Sanders, coupled with their unwillingness to give him a chance, creates a narrative that suggests they're not fully invested in his development or future success. The bottom line is simple. If Cleveland is serious about finding their quarterback of the future, they need to give Shedeur Sanders the opportunity to prove himself. Until then, the uncertainty and hesitation will continue to haunt the Browns' quarterback situation. What do you think about the situation with Shedeur Sanders? Is he being given a fair chance, or is he being overlooked for reasons we don't fully understand? Should the Browns have committed more to developing him, especially after his strong preseason performances? And what's your take on the depth chart decision, with Sanders listed 4th despite showing more potential? We'd love to hear your thoughts on whether the Browns are handling the quarterback competition the right way.